Imagine this: a billionaire CEO stranded at a bus stop with no wallet and no way to get home. Enter Aiden Carter, a humble maintenance worker with just enough to get himself home. Without a second thought, he gives her his last few dollars. But here's the twist: she's not just any woman. She's Olivia Hayes, the powerful CEO of a billion-dollar company. Can a man who has nothing really be the one to capture the heart of a woman who has everything? Watch as these two come from different worlds, but discover that true love doesn't care about status or wealth. You won't believe how their story unfolds. Can you believe it? He handed her cash for the bus, completely clueless that she was a millionaire CEO, and somehow he stole her heart. The first raindrop hit the sidewalk with a splat, right as Olivia Hayes let out a groan that could wake the city. Could this day possibly get any worse? She yanked open her bag for what felt like the millionth time, digging through it with a desperation that was practically screaming. Lipstick, keys, a crumpled business card. Where the heck was her wallet? Her phone? Dead as a doornail. She squeezed her eyes shut, willing herself to stay calm. Olivia was the queen of control, her company, her life, her everything. But today, today the universe was laughing in her face, testing every ounce of her patience. Earlier that morning, she'd nailed a high-stakes investor meeting, but somewhere between hopping in and out of a taxi, her wallet had vanished into thin air. No credit cards, no cash, nothing. Now here she was, stranded at a grimy bus stop miles from her penthouse, with no way to pay for a ride. And because the universe has a sixth sense of humor, it started raining. She glared at the sky, hands on her hips. Seriously? Now? Rain? A few feet away, Aiden Carter rocked back on his heels, his sharp eyes catching the woman's struggle. She didn't fit here, not in that sleek designer coat that probably cost more than his rent, not with those fierce, confident features that screamed, "I run the show." This was no ordinary bus stop regular. Aiden knew this city like the back of his hand, and wealth, he could spot it a mile away. What's a woman like her doing stuck here? He watched her exhale sharply, her fingers gripping her bag like it owed her money, her shoulders squaring as if she were about to charge into battle. She wasn't the type to beg for help, that much was clear. But still, "Need a hand?" he called out, his voice deep and steady. Olivia whipped her head around, startled. Who was this guy? Standing there was a tall, lean man in faded jeans and a plain black hoodie, his brown hair a little messy from the wind, his blue eyes calm but warm. There was nothing flashy about him, except for that spark of kindness in his gaze that hit her like a bolt. She hesitated, her pride wrestling with her situation. She cleared her throat, forcing the words out. "I lost my wallet." Aiden nodded, like he'd already pieced it together. "Got any friends nearby who can help you out?" She swallowed hard, her cheeks burning. "My phone's dead." He let out a low chuckle that somehow eased the tension. "Rough day, huh?" Olivia huffed, a wry smile tugging at her lips. "You have no freaking idea." Aiden paused, weighing his options. In his pocket? Exactly $44.7, $5, just enough for his own ride home after a brutal shift. But this woman, this stranger, needed it more than he did right now. Without a second thought, he dug into his pocket, pulling out a couple of crumpled bills and a handful of change. "Here," he said, holding it out like it was no big deal. "Bus fare." Olivia blinked, stunned. Was this guy for real? She stared at the money, then back at him, her mind racing. People didn't just do this, not in her cutthroat world of boardrooms and power plays. She studied him, searching for a catch, some hidden agenda, but all she saw was sincerity that made her heart skip. Finally, she let out a shaky breath and took the money, her fingers brushing his "Thank you," she whispered, her voice softer than she meant it to be. Aiden just shrugged, his easy smile disarming. "It's just a couple bucks." But to Olivia, oh, it was so much more. "Let me pay you back," she insisted, already plotting how she'd track him down. Aiden chuckled, shaking his head like she'd said something absurd. "Nah, don't sweat it. Just pay it forward someday, all right?" That stopped her cold. He didn't want anything from her, nothing at all. Her heart gave a strange little twist, and for reasons she couldn't explain, it felt good. Before she could find the words to respond, the bus roared up, its brakes squealing. Olivia hesitated, just for a heartbeat, then stepped aboard. As the doors hissed shut, she turned back, catching one last glimpse of Aiden through the rain-streaked glass. Hands in his pockets, he stood there, watching the bus pull away, totally unaware that he'd just helped a woman who could buy the entire bus company without blinking. For the first time in forever, Olivia felt something new. She felt small, vulnerable, and strangely okay with it. How was that even possible? Olivia Hayes wasn't the type to dwell on random strangers. Her life was a whirlwind of strategy. Deadlines and precision distractions were not allowed. Yet, the next morning, as she sat in her sleek penthouse office, flipping through proposals, her mind kept wandering back to the guy from the bus stop. Aiden. Why couldn't she shake him? There was something about him, something so real. She'd met countless men in tailored suits, guys who calculated every word, only speaking if it got them something. But Aiden, he'd given up his last few bucks without a second thought. Not because he knew she was loaded, not because he wanted anything, but because he was. Kinda. Who does that? She sighed, rubbing her temples. Why am I even thinking about this guy? Her intercom buzzed, snapping her back to reality. "Miss Hayes." Her assistant's voice crackled. "The department heads are waiting in the conference room." Olivia exhaled, smoothing her blazer. "Get it together, girl. Time to focus." The conference room hummed with corporate energy executives whispering, the smell of fresh coffee hanging in the air. Olivia strode in, and just like that, the room fell silent. All eyes were on her. As always, she took her seat at the head of the glossy table, nodding at the department heads, ready to dive in. But then wait, what? Her gaze snagged on a figure at the far end of the room, tinkering with a maintenance panel. A man in navy coveralls, casually adjusting a toolbox. Her heart stopped. Aiden? Was she seeing things? She blinked, but no, it was him. He looked up, their eyes locked, and nothing. No spark of recognition, no jaw-dropping moment where he realized she was the big boss. Just a polite nod before he went back to his work, like she was just another suit in a building full of them. Olivia, though? She felt like someone had punched the air out of her lungs. What were the odds? The meeting dragged on, but Olivia was barely there. She nodded at reports, approved proposals, but her mind was screaming, "Aiden works here? In my company? How?" When it finally ended, she lingered, watching as he packed up his tools. Something inside her refused to let this be the end. "Excuse me," she called out, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. Aiden glanced up, surprised. "Yes, ma'am." Olivia nearly laughed. "Ma'am?" If he only knew. She stood taller. "What's your name?" He hesitated, then answered, "Aiden Carter." She nodded, playing it cool, like she hadn't memorized his face already. "How long have you worked here?" "About a year," he said, shifting his toolbox. "Maintenance team." He looked cautious, like he wasn't used to XX noticing him. "Good," she said, keeping it simple. "I'll see you around, Aiden." She turned and walked away, her heart racing, a tiny smile creeping onto her lips as she hit the hallway. Oh, this was going to be interesting. A week later, Olivia caught herself scanning the building for Aiden every chance she got. A quick glimpse of him fixing a light or checking an HVAC unit sent her pulse racing, but he never looked at her the way she looked at him. To him, she was just another executive. How could he not see her? Then one evening, while skimming emails, she froze. A complaint. Employee Aiden Carter. Issue: alleged insubordination. Her stomach dropped. She clicked the report, her eyes narrowing. Aiden had called out his supervisor, Mark Grayson, over unsafe working conditions. Of course he did. She could picture him, standing tall, refusing to back down because he cared. She scrolled to the recommended action: suspension. Oh, hell no. Not on her watch. In minutes, she fired off an email to HR from CEO Olivia Hayes. Subject: Aiden Carter's review. I'd like to personally review the complaint regarding Aiden Carter before any action is taken. Until then, no disciplinary measures should be enforced. Olivia Hayes. She hit send, her jaw set. Aiden would never know she'd stepped in. But that didn't matter. No way was she letting a guy like him get punished for doing what was right. For the first time in ages, Olivia started craving the little moments, not the high-stakes deals or boardroom wins, but the chance to see Aiden Carter. It was subtle at first. She'd take the long route to her office, hoping to pass the maintenance areas. She'd need help with things she could totally handle, like a flickering light or a wonky thermostat. And every time Aiden showed up, all business, polite, and totally unfazed. To him, she was just another employee. But slowly, oh so slowly, things started to shift. One afternoon, Olivia stood by her office thermostat, scowling. "This stupid thing's stuck again," she muttered, right as Aiden passed by. He raised an eyebrow, a teasing glint in his eyes. "You sure you didn't just hit the wrong button?" Olivia crossed her arms, pretending to be offended. "Excuse me, I know how to work a thermostat." Aiden smirked, stepping closer. "I don't know. You look like the type to overcomplicate things." She fought back a grin as he fixed it in seconds. "There," he said, stepping back. "Now your fancy corporate life can stay at the perfect temperature." She rolled her eyes, but her heart was doing flips. "I'm forever in your debt." "Oh, great one." Aiden laughed, a real laugh. "I'll add it to your tab." And just like that, the walls between them started to crumble. Was this really happening? How could someone so strong carry so much weight? Over time, Olivia peeled back the layers of Aiden's life, and each discovery hit her like a wave. He juggled 2 jobs just to keep a roof over his head. Can you imagine that kind of grind? He'd once dreamed of being an engineer, but college was a luxury his wallet couldn't afford. And his younger sister? He'd stepped up to raise her after their parents passed away. No questions asked. Aiden never whined, never raged against his lot in life. He just accepted it. Olivia couldn't decide if that made her admire him more or want to shake him. She burned to tell him he deserved better, that life didn't have to be this brutal. But Aiden? Oh, he was too stubborn for handouts. She knew that much. So, she did the only thing she could. She listened, really listened. And somewhere along the way, he stopped being just the maintenance guy. He became Aiden. One chilly evening, Aiden wrapped up a grueling shift and stepped outside, craving a gulp of fresh air. That's when he saw her, Olivia, standing by the curb, chatting with some guy in a slick black suit that screamed money. A second later, a gleaming luxury car purred up. Without a pause, Olivia slid into the back seat like it was nothing. Aiden's brow furrowed. What was that about? She'd always blended in at work, professional, sure, but never flashy, never acting like she was above anyone. But that car, That cool, effortless confidence? It didn't add up. For the first time, a question gnawed at him. Who was Olivia Hayes, really? The truth slammed into him the very next day. Aiden was elbow deep in a vending machine repair when he caught a snippet of break room gossip. "Did you see Olivia's new interview?" One employee gushed. "Oh yeah," the other replied. "Running a billion-dollar company at 30-30-30? That's insane." Aiden froze. "Wait, what?" He tilted his head, pretending to focus on the machine, but his ears were locked on their words. "She's not like other CEOs," one continued. "No drama, no showboating, just brilliant and tough as nails." The other laughed. "Olivia Hayes is a freaking force of nature." Olivia Hayes. Aiden's grip tightened, his knuckles whitening. His mind raced, replaying every moment their easy chats. The little sparks, that luxury car, her quiet poise. She wasn't just another coworker. She was the CEO, a billionaire, and he'd been clueless this whole time. Aiden prided himself on reading people, but this blindsided him. He'd spent weeks getting close to Olivia, thinking she was just another ambitious soul, someone he could vibe with, free from the corporate fakery. Now, the truth hit like a punch. She was light years out of his league, living in a world he could barely imagine. And the kicker? She'd never told him. He wasn't naive, he knew powerful people hid their true selves, but Olivia had felt different, genuine. Had it all been a charade? Was she just toying with the broke maintenance guy who didn't know any better? His stomach churned. He didn't have answers. But one thing was crystal clear. He had to pull back. Now, the next time Olivia saw Aiden, her heart sank. Where was that playful smirk? The teasing quips? The way he used to look at her like she was just. Olivia? Gone. His hellos were short, his words sharp, like he couldn't wait to bolt. At first, she wondered if she was overthinking it, but no, it kept happening. Every time she tried to chat, he'd mumble an excuse and vanish. Every time their paths crossed, he wouldn't even meet her eyes. It stung, deep and raw, in a way she hadn't seen coming. Why did it hurt this much? One evening, after another painfully awkward run-in, Olivia's patience snapped. She'd tried giving him space, but enough was enough. Instead of retreating to her office, she marched to the lower floors where the maintenance crew worked. What was she even hoping to find? Turning a corner, she stopped dead. There was Aiden, his back to her, shirt clinging to his skin from sweat, hands buried in the guts of a broken air conditioner. The room was a sauna, but he didn't flinch. His jaw was set, his focus laser sharp. For a moment, Olivia just stared. This was Aiden, relentless, stubborn, carrying the world on his shoulders. Yet, beneath that strength, she saw the toll it took, the tension in his frame, the exhaustion etched into his face. Her heart twisted. Without thinking, she stepped forward. "Need a hand?" Aiden froze, his hands stilling. Slowly, he turned, his blue eyes shadowed with something heavy. "What are you doing here?" His voice was soft, almost too quiet. Olivia hesitated, then crouched beside him, ignoring the heat. "Just thought you could use some help." He let out a sharp, bitter laugh. "Right. Because the CEO has time to fix AC units now?" The words cut, and Olivia flinched. "I'm still me, Aiden," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. He exhaled, raking a hand through his damp hair. "No, you're not." Olivia's throat tightened. "I never lied to you. You didn't have to," he muttered, his tone laced with hurt. "You let me believe a lie." She wanted to argue, to explain, but before she could, Aiden stood, wiping his hands on his jeans. He looked at her, really looked at her, like he was seeing her for the first time. Then, with a voice heavy with finality, he said, "We're from different worlds, Olivia." Without another word, he walked away, leaving her alone in the stifling heat. How could he just leave? Olivia Hayes wasn't one to back down from what she wanted, and right now, she wanted Aiden to see he was wrong about her. She didn't care about his bank account or their so-called different worlds. Those walls he kept building, she'd tear them down. But Aiden was stubborn, refusing to believe her intentions were real. She wasn't giving up, not yet. One afternoon, she took a bold step. She sauntered into the maintenance office, where Aiden was hunched over work orders and leaned against the doorframe, casual as could be. "Hey," she said, her voice light. He barely glanced up. "Hey." She pushed past his iciness. "I need to talk." Over coffee. Aiden's eyes flicked up, narrowing. "Coffee?" Olivia nodded, unfazed. "Yeah, you know that drink people share when they've got stuff to say." He studied her, suspicion written all over his face. After a long pause, he sighed. "Fine. Yes, a small win." In a cozy cafe, far from the corporate grind, they sat across from each other. For the first time in weeks, Aiden's guard slipped just a little. They didn't talk about work or money, but about simple things: movies, books, the city's quirks. For a fleeting moment, Olivia dared to hope. Could things go back to how they were? Could they be more? But reality crashed in soon after. Days later, Olivia was heading to the parking garage when Aiden's voice stopped her cold. She hadn't meant to eavesdrop, but his words held her in place. "She's amazing, man," he was saying, "but I won't be that guy." His friend's voice cut in. "What guy?" "The guy who dates someone like Olivia Hayes," and Aiden's voice broke, heavy with frustration. "Just ends up a footnote in her story." Olivia's stomach twisted. "What?" "I need to make something of myself first," he went on. "I need to stand on my own, or I'll just be the guy she helped out. I can't live like that." Silence hung, then his friend asked, "So, what's your plan?" Aiden's reply was soft but firm. "I'm letting her go." Olivia felt like the ground had vanished beneath her. She could take rejection, anger, even distance, but this? Aiden wasn't pushing her away because he didn't care. He was stepping back because he didn't believe they could work. That was a fight she didn't know how to win. For the first time ever, Olivia Hayes gave up. The next day, she stopped seeking him out, stopped trying to change his mind. Letting him go shattered her heart. Why did it feel so wrong? Aiden thought walking away from Olivia was the right call. Their worlds were too far apart. He told himself she deserved someone who could match her, stand as her equal. But the second she faded from his life, everything felt off. At first, he chalked it up to needing time, but weeks dragged on, and the emptiness only grew. Every day at work, her absence hit like a punch. No more surprise encounters, no more sharp-witted banter, no more Olivia. Was this what he wanted? Then it hit him like a freight train. He'd been the problem all along. He'd been so convinced Olivia saw him as lesser, but she never had, not once. She'd never pitied him, never looked down on him, never treated him as anything but her equal. He built those walls, convinced himself she couldn't love him as he was. He'd pushed her away, and now she was gone. His fault entirely. How had he gotten it so wrong? How could one moment hurt so much? One afternoon, Aiden was striding toward the building's exit when his eyes caught her Olivia, right there by the entrance, locked in conversation with some guy in a flashy, expensive suit. The man was tall, polished, radiating that smug confidence that screamed wealth. Aiden stopped dead, his heart twisting painfully. What was this? Olivia laughed at something the guy said. Her face relaxed, her smile so easy and bright it stung. In that gut punch moment, it hit him. She'd moved on. His chest tightened, like the air had been sucked out of the room. Had he really thought she'd wait for him forever? Did he honestly believe that just because he couldn't stop thinking about her, she was stuck on him too? She was Olivia Hayes, a woman who could have anyone. And clearly, she'd found someone better, someone who fit her world. Aiden spun around and bolted before she could spot him. But no matter how fast he walked, the ache clung to him like a shadow. Why did it feel like he'd lost everything? Aiden threw himself into work, desperate for a distraction. Spoiler, it didn't work. He tried hanging out with friends, even forced himself to meet new people, but none of them were Olivia. Everywhere he turned, there she was in the cafe where they'd shared coffee, pretending it was just business. In the vending machine he'd been fixing when her true identity hit him like a freight train. Even at that damn bus stop where their story began. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore. Enough was enough. He had to fix this. Had to tell Olivia the truth before it was too late. Could he really let her slip away? The night of Hayes Corporation's annual gala was electric, a massive affair packed with hundreds of employees, investors, and VIPs swirling in an elegant ballroom. Aiden? He had zero business being there. Yet, there he stood, heart pounding, scanning the crowd like his life depended on it. Then he saw her, Olivia, near the stage, draped in a stunning black gown, her poise effortless as she chatted with executives. She was absolutely breathtaking. For the first time since they'd met, Aiden felt no fear, just a burning need to make things right. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. Heads turned, whispers buzzing through the crowd. A maintenance worker crashing the CEO's gala? Scandalous. But Aiden didn't give a damn. He marched straight to Olivia, stopping right in front of her. She blinked, her eyes wide. Aiden? For a split second, they just stared, the world fading away. Then, before his courage could falter, Aiden blurted, "I was wrong." The room fell silent, every eye on them. Olivia's jaw dropped. "What?" Aiden exhaled, his voice raw but steady. "I was wrong to walk away. Wrong to think you deserve someone else. Wrong to believe what we have doesn't matter." Olivia's breath caught, her eyes glistening. He stepped closer, his heart laid bare. "I don't care about our differences, money, the company, what anyone thinks. The only thing that matters is you." Dead silence. Then, like a sunrise, a slow, breathtaking smile spread across Olivia's lips. Just like that, the walls between them crumbled. For the first time in weeks, Olivia felt a spark she thought was gone forever. Hope, standing there, drinking in Aiden's words, seeing the fierce determination in his eyes. God, it was almost enough to make her believe again. Almost. Because as much as she ached to throw herself into his arms, to confess she'd been waiting for this, a tiny voice of fear whispered, "What if he regrets this? What if he resents me later? Was this just a fleeting, emotional outburst?" She needed certainty. She needed to know he wouldn't vanish again. Olivia took a shaky breath, steadying herself. "Aiden," she said softly, her voice trembling just a bit. He leaned in, hanging on her every word, hope flickering in his eyes. She held his gaze. "If you really mean this, if you truly want to be with me." She paused, then added, "Prove it." Aiden's brows knit together. "Prove it?" Olivia nodded, her resolve firm. "You walked away because you thought you weren't enough, that you had to stand on your own first." He swallowed hard, her words hitting home. She pressed on. "So if you believe in us, show me. Show me you'll fight for this, not just with words, but with action." Aiden stared at her, then nodded, his jaw set. No arguments, no excuses, just a quiet, "I will." And he meant it. The very next day, he dove in, enrolling in online business courses. He worked like a man possessed, balancing his job with late-night study sessions that left him exhausted but determined. It was brutal, at first overwhelming, but every time he wavered, he pictured Olivia, remembered why he was doing this. For himself, for her, for their future. Could he really pull this off? Unbeknownst to him, Olivia was watching, her heart still tethered to him. They weren't together, not officially, but she never stopped caring. She pulled strings so subtly he'd never suspect. A quiet recommendation here, a small scholarship there, little boosts to open doors he wouldn't have had otherwise, but mostly, she waited, holding her breath. Would he stay committed? Would he run again? She had to know. Over the months, they stayed connected, texts, the occasional coffee, late-night talks that felt like old times. No labels, no grand love confessions, just two people biding their time, waiting for the right moment. And, slowly, Olivia saw it. Aiden wasn't just proving himself to her, he was proving himself to himself. That realization hit her like a tidal wave. Maybe, just maybe, they had a shot. The past year had been the toughest and most rewarding of Aiden Carter's life. He'd pushed himself to the brink, balancing work and study, breaking limits he never knew he had. Now, standing in his own small but growing tech maintenance company, he knew every sleepless night was worth it. His business wasn't massive, not yet, but it was his, built from scratch with his own sweat and grit. He wasn't just a maintenance worker anymore. He was his own boss. Most importantly, he was ready to chase what his heart had always wanted, ready to fight. For Olivia, was this really happening? Aiden sat at his desk, clutching a small envelope. Inside, a bus ticket, just like the one he'd given Olivia all those months ago when she was stranded in the rain, penniless, or so he'd thought. This time, the ticket wasn't for her to get home. It was an invitation to come back to him. He took a deep breath, scribbled a note, and tucked it inside. I've changed, but one thing never has: I still love you. With a racing heart, he sent it off. Would she understand? When Olivia got the envelope, her hands shook so hard, she nearly dropped it. She pulled out the bus ticket and note, her breath catching. For a long moment, she just stared at those words, her heart pounding. Then, without a second thought, she grabbed her coat and ran like her life depended on it. The city buzzed around her as she sprinted through familiar streets, her pulse thundering. When she reached the bus stop, there he was, Aiden, hands in his pockets, looking the same yet transformed. He'd grown into the man he always wanted to be. But that smile, that infuriating, heart-melting smile, told her he was still her Aiden, the guy who tossed her a few bucks for a bus fare, clueless she was a millionaire, the man who'd challenged her, frustrated her, and made her fall so deeply in love. How had she ever let him go? She didn't slow down, didn't hesitate. She launched herself into his arms. Aiden caught her, holding her so tight, it felt like he'd never let go again. And this time, he wouldn't. The city roared on cars honking, people rushing, but for them, time stopped. This was their moment, and nothing else mattered. Olivia eased back, her eyes sparkling with tears and mischief. Took you long enough, she teased. Aiden chuckled, his voice warm. Told you I don't quit easy. She grinned, fierce and radiant. Good, because neither do I. And right there, with the world spinning around them, she kissed him, sealing a promise they both felt in their bones. No more barriers, no more doubts, just Olivia and Aiden, together, forever. Sometimes, love doesn't care where you're from or what you've got. It's about who you are and who you fight for. Aiden and Olivia came from opposite worlds, but their hearts, they spoke the same language. True love laughs at status, wealth, or obstacles. It just finds a way. If this story warmed your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Soul-Stirring Stories. We bring you raw, emotional tales of love, grit, and connection. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a story that moves you. Thanks for joining us. See you in the next one.